Well, hi, everybody. Welcome. This is week 4 of our practices, exploring mindfulness with you guys over there at LCCC. I'm really excited to be here. If you haven't joined us before, my name is Janine Forsyth Lefevre. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I own Wyoming Workplace Wellness. And I've been working with the Student Leadership Council over there at LCCC this semester to offer some mindfulness practices, as well as some gentle content involving time management, stress management. So if you haven't watched the previous videos, I absolutely encourage that. You can watch them anytime. Mondays, we tend to focus a little bit more on the content part, a little bit of, sharing of wisdom and knowledge. And then on Wednesdays, we tend to focus more on the actual practice. But honestly, we mix and match. We do a little bit of both Mondays and Wednesdays. So don't worry about missing too much if you miss a day. But for today, we are talking about movement and relaxation, how we can use mindful movement to help manage our stress, help us sleep better. Next week, we're going to go into sleep a lot more depth, but we're going to start thinking about mindfulness and movement and how mindful movement can actually reduce stress, help us relax. So that said, let's go ahead and begin our practice together. We'll find a tall, comfortable seat. And if you're just joining us, all that means is finding a place where your sits bones can feel nice and grounded into the earth, or a chair, or a couch, or even a bed. Sitting up nice and tall so your spine is long. What this does is helps open the airway, helps us take in really nice deep breaths. You don't want your back to be rigid like a board, just nice and long, but still some flexibility there. Maybe tuck the chin ever so slightly. What this does is open up the back of the neck. Finding your tall, comfortable seat, maybe shrug the shoulders up, lower them, and begin to tune into your breath. Noticing the inhales and the exhales. Don't try to change anything just yet. Just notice. Maybe you begin to focus on wherever you feel the breath the most prominently. For some of us, it'll be right at the tip of our nose, feeling that air come in through the nostrils. Maybe it's at the back of the throat. Maybe you feel it most in the lungs, in the heart space. Or maybe you're already taking deep belly breaths. It can really feel the diaphragm. Wherever it is, just hone in on your breathing and just observe as the body breathes itself here. Almost like an ocean tide. The inhale, the tide comes in. Exhale, tide goes out. Begin to deepen your breath now. Deep breaths down into the low belly. Exhale, empty all the air out like water from a pitcher. Nice deep belly breaths, nice and slow. Do a quick body scan here, beginning with bringing your awareness to the soles of your feet. Just like an airport scanner, slowly start to scan up from the feet, the ankles, the shins. You're looking for anything that feels tight or tense, painful, restricted. Just noticing where the body is. And as you scan, if you find anything that needs a little bit of attention, you can stop and breathe into that for a couple of breaths. For me, once I get to my low back, I often have some tension or tightness there. So I might just stop and imagine that ocean tide of breath, inhaling in, bringing nourishment and space and relaxation. And on the exhale, that tide of breath washes away anything that doesn't need to be there, any stress, any pain, any tension. Just see if you can wash even some of it away with the exhale. Just continue scanning the body, just noticing where your physical self is right here, right now. Maybe you pay special attention to the shoulders, the jaw when you get there. A lot of us tend to hold stress in those places. Just see if you can open up at all. And once you've finished with your body scan, bring your awareness to your mental and emotional self. What are you thinking? Where's your head at? What are you feeling? Where's your heart? If you can put a name to this, that is really helpful for your mindfulness practice, especially your emotions. If you can sense, maybe it's Thanksgiving week and you're excited. Maybe you're feeling a sense of gratitude already. Maybe there's some stress there about keeping yourself or others safe. Whatever you're thinking and feeling, it's totally great. No need to change it. Don't judge yourself. Just notice and name it if you can. Noticing, naming, and breathing into it. Breathe into the stress, the excitement, the gratitude, nervousness, whatever it is, just breathe into it, allowing it to be just what it is. You can even say, this is me feeling gratitude. This is me feeling stress. Two more breaths here, breathing into anything that needs it, physical, mental, emotional. If your eyes are closed, you can flutter them open. Take any movements you need, maybe stretching the legs or the arms. And speaking of movement, that's what we're talking about today. So how can we use mindfulness and movement to combat our stress? It's a good question, right? You've probably heard a lot about exercise in your life. It's something that we're told about from a very young age, right? We all do PE when we're in grade school. Many of us played sports, and we know that exercise is good for us. We also know that mindfulness and meditation is good for us, right? Last week, we explored the relationship between lowering heart rate, lowering chronic stress responses and hormones, and mindfulness meditation. So we have on one hand movement and exercise, and another hand mindfulness and meditation. Sometimes those two exist separate from each other, but they can exist together. And that's a really magical, beautiful place to be in. One way to combine mindfulness and movement is by setting an intention. And what do I mean by intention? How is an intention different from a goal, you might ask? An intention is kind of like a compass. It directs your mind, it keeps you motivated and focused. And you can use mindfulness to make your movement or exercise more intuitive, more restorative. And this can often begin with setting of an intention. Some examples of setting an intention might be, I'm going for a run to clear my head. And maybe as you're going for your run that day, you're really focusing in on that mental place. What we do in our mindfulness check-ins, right? Where's my head at? And I'm running, I'm moving my body, I'm clearing my mind, like a windswept prairie, right? And you arrive at the end of your run or you turn off your treadmill, and your intention has really been to process any thoughts that are churning and clear the mind. It's a beautiful way of combining mindfulness and movement. Yoga, what we call the asana practice of yoga, is a classic example of mindful movement. Now, yoga itself is so much more than yoga postures. I could do a whole series on that. You all know I'm a yoga teacher. What we do here every week, sitting in mindful breathing, that is a form of yoga. Meditation is yoga. But there's also a movement component to yoga known as our asana practice. And asana just means shape or posture. So yoga is a classic example of mindful movement. A lot of yoga classes will really encourage you to match your breath to your movement. So we might say things like inhale, arms up, exhale, forward fold, right? We're matching breath to movement, and we're asking you to really pay attention to your breath as you move. And maybe, yoga classes often will prompt you to set an intention at the beginning of class. In my classes, I'll often say, if you have an intention that you would like to practice with today, now's a good time. Sometimes I might suggest something. Maybe, this week in my classes, I'm teaching for Thanksgiving, we're focusing on gratitude. So I might set an intention of one way you can express gratitude this week, or one thing about yourself you're thankful for. So that's one way yoga is great. There's tons of yoga offerings. You can pay and join a studio. There's lots and lots of online YouTube yoga classes. So that might be another example to practice with mindful movement. Walking. Walking is beautiful mindful movement. A lot of Buddhist traditions incorporate walking meditation into their practices. You can set an intention before you go for a walk. Maybe today my intention as I walk is to let negative thoughts go. And then you can walk mindfully, really maybe paying attention to the way the foot hits the earth and then comes off with each step. Maybe you feel it, heel, toe, lift, heel, toe, lift. Maybe you decide you're going to be very mindful of your surroundings, noticing the trees, the sounds, any birds, any other humans. But you can set an intention just for going for a walk. Today I'm going to clear my negative thoughts. Today I'm going to notice nature. Maybe you're a swimmer. I'm going swimming to increase my strength. Here's my intention. Today I'm going to get strong. Today I'm going to feel both my physical strength and my mental and emotional resiliency. I am a strong person. Maybe it's just, I'm not going to judge myself during my workout today. That's an intention. Then once you've got your intention set for whatever workout you're doing, you can start paying attention to just any sensations that you feel. Coolness, heat, tingling, throbbing, anything you feel in your body as you're moving. And this will help you to tune in to when you need to modify, when you need to hold steady, when you need to pick up the pace and up your intensity. So maybe during your next workout, you notice your muscles burning towards the end of your walk or run, or you feel a sense of expansion during a deep yoga pose, or fire in your legs during those last few squats if you're doing CrossFit or HIIT or something. Your body feels different day to day. Some days you're in the zone, you're rocking and you're rolling. Other days you might only crawl, right? Be mindful of and acknowledge your highs and lows. Wow, my workout felt really great today. Wow, my workout felt really challenging today. That's a form of mindfulness and incorporating it with movement. If you can, here's what I suggest. Commit to moving a little bit each day. It could be a walk. It could be 10 jumping jacks. It could be going for a swim. It could be finding a yoga video on YouTube, or any number of a million different things, right? Any kind of movement can be mindful movement. Any kind of mindful movement can help with your stress, can help with your relaxation, can help you be in tune to your body, in tune with your mind, with your heart. And believe it or not, it can also help with time management. When you're truly focused and you move mindfully, you move your body, you pay attention to your breath, to your intention, that's going to create space in your mind. It'll create space in your day, I'm telling you. Even though I'm saying take time to move, sometimes you got to take time to make time, right? We talked about that in our time management week. Building consistency, I think, is really important with mindful movement. Maybe you just start, like I suggested, with, I'm going to move for 10 minutes today, noticing my breath while I do it. Or maybe it's, I'm going to be really mindful as I'm walking from my car into the grocery store and back. I'm going to really pay attention to my soles of the feet touching the earth. Maybe I even match that to my breath. I notice the sensations in my body as I'm moving. It's not that hard, really, but we tend to be so distracted. So distracted. Our brain wants to be churning about other things, sometimes while we're working out, while we're walking, while we're doing whatever. So mindfully moving just means bringing that intention, bringing that awareness back to what you're doing right now. And an intention, like we talked about at the beginning, can really help you hone in and focus. So start where you are, embrace what you can embrace, do what you can, be super gentle and non-judgmental. Remember, a cornerstone of mindfulness is non-judgmental awareness. If you think to yourself, all right, I'm going to move mindfully every day, and then you miss a day, big deal. There's tomorrow. Don't judge yourself. Yeah, I missed today. That's a fact. I have an intention to get back on the horse tomorrow. That's also a fact. Move on, let it go. I feel like there's a lot more I could say about mindful movement, but I'd like to leave time in our session today to do a little bit of meditation. And then on Wednesday, we're going to do a brief, really relaxed yoga sequence. Just as an example of mindful movement. So I'm really excited about that. So if you're going to watch on Wednesday, maybe be in a place where you can do some gentle yoga moves, nothing too crazy. You could probably do it in your street clothes, but just something to move the body mindfully so we can explore a little bit about what we're talking about today. But for today, I wanted to talk a little bit about guided meditation and how that can feed into mindfulness and also mindful movement. Sometimes we need to really ground and settle before we feel like we can move. Sometimes we need to move before we can really ground and settle. So mindfulness, meditation, movement, all are interrelated and all are connected. Today, what I wanted to lead you through is what's known as the mountain meditation. And this is a great one to do before mindful movement or after mindful movement, just depending on where you are that day. So I'll go ahead and invite you to find your tall, comfortable seat again. Otherwise, you could also lay down to do this practice. That's totally fine. I think sitting up is nice because it helps me feel more like a mountain, right? So finding your tall, comfortable seat. Roll the shoulders down away from the ears. You can close the eyes if that feels okay for you, or simply lower the gaze a couple feet out in front of the body. Softening the focus, turning inward, finding your breath. This mountain meditation comes from Jon Kabat-Zinn. And he writes, in meditation practice, it can be helpful sometimes to borrow wonderful archetypal qualities of mountains and use them to bolster our intentionality and resolve to hold the moment with an elemental purity and simplicity. So he's talking about using this mountain imagery to really solidify ourselves with an intention, with a purpose. So if we were going to do this before mindful movement, and we know that we have an intention to be mindful, to build strength through movement, we could meditate like this for a few minutes before we start going. As he writes, to bolster our intentionality and resolve to hold the moment with an elemental purity and simplicity. The mountain image held in the mind's eye and in the body can freshen our memory of why we are here in the first place, of what it truly means each time we take our seat or decide to move mindfully. Mountains are quintessentially emblematic of abiding presence and stillness. So tuning into your breath here, deepening your inhales and your exhales. Picture the most beautiful mountain you know, or know of, or can imagine. A mountain whose form speaks personally to you. As you focus on the image of the mountain, or the feeling of the mountain in your mind's eye, notice its overall shape, the lofty peak, the base rooted in the rock of the earth's crust, the steep or gently sloping sides. Note as well how massive it is, how unmoving, how beautiful, whether seen from afar or up close. A beauty emanating from its unique signature of shape and form, and at the same time embodying universal qualities of mountainness, transcending particular shape and form. Perhaps your mountain has snow at the top and trees on the lower slopes. Perhaps it has one prominent peak, perhaps a series of peaks or a high plateau. However it appears, just sit and breathe with the image of the mountain, observing it, noting its qualities. When you feel ready, see if you can bring the mountain into your own body, so that your body sitting here and the mountain of the mind's eye become one. Your head becomes the lofty peak, your shoulders and arms the sides of the mountain, your buttocks and legs the solid base rooted to your cushion on the floor or your chair. Experience in your body the sense of uplift, the axial, elevated quality of the mountain deep in your own spine. Invite yourself to become a breathing mountain, unwavering in your stillness, completely what you are, beyond words and thought, centered, rooted, unmoving presence. Now, as well you know, throughout the day, as the sun travels the sky, the mountain just sits. Light and shadow and colors are changing virtually moment to moment in the mountain's elementine stillness. Even the untrained eye can see changes by the hour. These evoke those masterpieces of Claude Monet, who had the genius to set up many easels and paint the life of his inanimate subjects hour by hour, moving from canvas to canvas as the play of light, shadow and color transformed cathedral, river, or mountain, and thereby wake up the viewer's eye. As the light changes, as night follows day and day night, the mountain just sits, simply being itself. It remains still as the seasons flow into one another and as the weather changes moment by moment and day by day, calmness abiding all change. In summer, there is no snow on the mountain, except perhaps for the very top, or in crags shielded from direct sunlight. In the fall, the mountain may display a coat of brilliant fire colors, in winter, a blanket of snow and ice. In any season, it may at times find itself enshrouded in clouds or fog, or pelted by freezing rain. The tourists who come to visit may be disappointed if they can't see the mountain clearly, but it's all the same to the mountain. Seen or unseen, in sun or clouds, broiling or frigid, it just sits, being itself. At times visited by violent storms, buffeted by snow and rain and winds of unthinkable magnitude, through it all, the mountain sits. Spring comes, the birds sing in the trees once again, leaves return to the trees which lost them, flowers bloom in the high meadows, and on the slopes, streams overflow with waters of melting snow. Through it all, the mountain continues to sit, unmoved by the weather, by what happens on the surface, by the world of appearance. As we sit holding this image in our mind, we can embody the same unwavering stillness and rootedness in the face of everything that changes in our own lives over seconds, hours, and years. In our lives and in our meditation practice, we experience constantly the changing nature of mind and body and of the outer world. We experience periods of light and dark, vivid color and drab stillness. We experience storms of varying intensity and violence in the outer world and in our own lives and minds. Buffeted by high winds, by cold and rain, we endure periods of darkness and pain, as well as savoring moments of joy and uplift. Even our appearance changes constantly, just like the mountains, experiencing a weather and a weathering of its own. By becoming the mountain in our meditation with its strength and stability and adopt them for our own, we can use its energies to support our efforts to encounter each moment with mindfulness, equanimity, and clarity. It may help us to see that our thoughts and feelings, our preoccupations, our emotional storms and crises, even the things that happen to us, are much like the weather on the mountain. We tend to take it personally, but its strongest characteristic is impersonal. The weather of our own lives is not to be ignored or denied. It is to be encountered, honored, felt, known for what it is, and held in high awareness, since it can kill us. In holding it this way, we come to know a deeper silence and stillness and wisdom than we may have thought possible right within the storms. Mountains have this to teach us and more if we can come to listen. Yet when all is said and done, the mountain meditation is only a device, a finger pointing us towards somewhere. We still have to look and then go. While the mountain image can help us become more stable, human beings are far more interesting and complex than mountains. We are breathing, moving, dancing mountains. We can be simultaneously hard like rock, firm, unmoving, and at the same time soft and gentle and flowing. We have a vast range of potential at our disposal. We can see and feel, we can know and understand, we can learn, we can grow, we can heal, especially if we learn to listen to the inner harmony of things and hold the central mountain axis through thick and thin. Take 3 more breaths here, holding your mountain in your mind. existing here as a living, breathing mountain. When you're ready, you can begin to wiggle fingers and toes. Maybe turn the head side to side, stretching the neck. Maybe rolling the shoulders. And then no rush. Flutter the eyes open when it feels right. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope you enjoyed the little talk about mindful movement and the mountain meditation. Maybe now you're inspired to go take a walk or hop on your bike or, I don't know, do a couple squats, whatever mindful movement speaks to you. And then Wednesday, as I mentioned, we'll be doing a brief yoga practice, a gentle yoga practice, nothing fancy, but hopefully useful. So I hope you'll tune in for that. Thank you so much for joining me. Please take good care of yourselves and others, and I'll see you next time.